Two souls intertwined within the honey-colored moon, hoping they will find true love soon.
So I lived in Australia for 3 years, went to film school, and when I came back, I wanted to move to Los Angeles because that's the film capital. And I have a friend that lives here, and I asked her, I said, how do you meet people? And she said, oh, you should use OkCupid.
He had sent me a message. It was kind of all over the place, but he made me laugh, so I messaged him back and said, do you want to meet up? We ended up talking till like 1 a.m. and yeah, I really liked him, but at the time, I wasn't really interested in being in a relationship.
She had spent 20 years moving back and forth between the East and West coasts, and I had spent 20 years moving back and forth between overseas and stateside. And so for the two of us to be in LA and both be on OkCupid and then go on a date, it's so hard for all those little things to happen, but they all happened.
I'm going to start today on a video journal for the OCAP wedding. Today's the day I thought of it, so today's the day I'm going to start recording. And as we go along and talk and come up with ideas and plan and make it happen, I'm going to continue to make videos for you, and at some point you'll see them all put together and you'll be able to see my whole side of this.
When Shane and I talked about, seriously, the actual possibility that we might get married, neither of us wanted a traditional wedding. We kind of weren't really into the pomp and circumstance. Just thinking about all the logistics of planning that gave me a huge headache. We thought we'd just go to the courthouse and do one of those. But then Shane kind of brought up the idea of, what if we went to Yosemite and did it? And I thought, oh, that sounds nice. I've seen pictures. It looks beautiful. And then he brought up, well, what if we did it around El Cap? I thought, oh yeah, I know that's a special place for him, so I can get behind that. Then he's like, well, what if we did it on a ledge? I just thought that was the coolest thing. Who gets married on a ledge? So I was all in. I really loved the idea that it was unusual and different and adventurous and, just something that would be very, very memorable. Well, Shane's the one that got me into climbing. He'd been doing it for over 20 years. It's such a huge part of his life. It's one of his great passions. He took me out to Malibu Creek and took me bouldering for a little bit for the first time. I hadn't climbed since I was in elementary school. My parents tell me all the time I was always climbing trees. I remember taking an indoor climbing class, and, my classmates were like, oh, look at Spider Woman over here. But I never pursued it or did it throughout my adulthood. And then, here comes Shane, and he took me climbing, and, I tried to learn to kind of understand this great passion of his. You are standing there, hanging on, and you're trying to take that next move, and for a moment you're sure you can't do it. It feels impossible. It feels too difficult. And then you take a breath and you go for it, and suddenly you get it. That kind of mental shift that you have of facing a challenge like that and then overcoming it, I think is really spilled into the rest of my life and facing the things that I'm afraid of and trying to move ahead in my life.
In 2010, Shane and I climbed El Capitan, the most famous mountain here in Yosemite. And that was just a totally awesome experience of getting to take someone who is, eager to learn and psyched to be up there like I was, and just to go up and have fun with one of your friends. And Shane caught on quick. He was fresh out of the military, he was young, fit, just psyched to be up here in the mountains, and we had a lot of fun going climbing. And right away he wanted to climb the big mountains. He didn't just want to do the day climbs or just get out. He wanted to know what it would be like to be up on the wall and to see what it was really like to get up there where you had to stay overnight or, you know, be thousands of feet above the ground. So that was really cool for me, because that's the kind of climbing that I like to do. So it was fun to take him out and to show him what it's like to be up on the mountain. He was really gung-ho about learning climbing and stuff, and you know, it's just fun to have someone with his enthusiasm for the mountains and for getting out. And you know, right away he wanted to learn about big wall climbing, because that's what makes Yosemite special. These mountains where you can sleep up there and just get to take it all in. So that's something that I love to do, and it was fun to share that with Shane. Shane's a good student.
One of the first things that Shane and I connected on when we started dating was the fact that we're both filmmakers. We'd each done our own projects before we met each other, and I believe it was our third date that we screened our projects for each other. I showed him Violent Night the movie, which was a Christmas horror comedy feature that I had made, and he showed me The Big Stone, which was a film about him climbing in Yosemite. And it was my introduction to him in this climbing world and how important Yosemite was to him. And he and his buddy Eric had climbed the nose on El Capitan, which is one of the most famous climbs there. And at the time, it didn't really occur to us, but there's a specific part in the film that has special meaning for us now that we're in this stage of our relationship, as opposed to early on when we were both sure we'd be single vagabonds for the rest of our lives.
To use a quote, Sogyal Rinpoche, a Tibetan Lama, once mused, "Living with the immediacy of death helps you sort out your priorities in life. It helps you to live a less trivial life." It's funny. My mother wants, and has wanted my entire life, for me to get married and have kids. But she said she finally came to peace with it when I got out of college, because she realized, and these are her words, not mine, "You already are in love, my dear. It just happens to be with the mountains. I just hope that someday you'll meet a nice, strong girl who likes them too, and wants kids." Well, we'll see. I just did like all this research today on planning everything in Yosemite, and it's so great that we're planning a climbing trip and an elopement and a film project all at once. And I just can't tell you how I'm just so thankful for you in my life.
We wanted to have this small ceremony that made a lot of spiritual sense and climber sense and filmmaker sense and artist sense to us as a couple. But the other thing we really wanted to do was, we didn't just want to have a wedding party, we wanted to have a wedding team. So we said, hey, we're having this technical wedding, we need 6 months worth of training. And that means that for 6 months, we get to see all of our favorite people.
So Molly is my maid of honor. We met at Pepperdine in business school, and we've been friends for, I guess, 7 years now? Yeah, she's one of my closest friends. She's amazing. She's actually afraid of heights, so that we asked her to do this. It's pretty insane.
Joyce and I met in 2008 at Pepperdine. We met at an orientation for the MBA program. Joyce was sitting at this table of very quiet, reserved people, and I was just so excited to be at Pepperdine. So I was very exuberant and a little bit hyper that day. I just kind of bounded over to her table and started introducing myself to everyone and just assumed everyone was going to be my friend. Joyce actually thought that that was a bit much and didn't really like me at first. We did end up being in the same classes together, so we got to know each other a little bit better in a more subdued setting. She finally warmed up to me. What's funny is she had a similar reaction when she met Shane, where she felt like he was a bit too much, a little overwhelming for her, and then obviously that worked out too. So I was just telling Joyce, I think if she doesn't like someone, then that means they're probably going to be her best friend pretty soon.
Louis Campopiano here, 2015, on set of Tactical Wedding Training, and just made our way up the hill, had a good time, feeling that it's going to be a really fun adventure. Don't really feel like the best man yet. The pretty good man, yes. Best man, maybe not. We'll see how it gets though.
He may not be my biological brother, but he is my life brother. And all through high school, college, we worked at camp together, we've lived together, we've climbed together, we've gotten each other through heartaches and heartbreaks and what do I do with my life? And I don't see him as often as I would like, and so to have 6 months where I got to see him, that was the best part of having a team instead of just a party, wedding party.
I guess I met Shane around 93 or 94 at Boy Scout camp in Camp Wackapamity in upstate New York. He worked on the high ropes course there and we became friends. Once I found out that he was a local guy, we kind of started interacting at the local climbing gym and we kind of became friends from there. What really I think set us up as really close friends is when my brothers went off to college and then he was local. It was about my older brother's age, so he kind of adopted me as his younger brother and I kind of adopted him as my older brother. That's when we really kind of created a more familial bond.
I'm BTSing, go.
We are here on our first training month of the 6-month journey towards the secret project, which is going to be the wedding, the climb, and the film all in one. If you can see the vista behind us, that is Cagle Canyon / the Angeles National Forest. From here, we are going to do bigger and longer and more difficult things as we get to the point where we're all ready to tackle El Cap. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Do I talk?
You can.
Luckily, no one has fainted or, got a stitch in their side, so this is promising for us, hopefully, getting fitter and more ready to tackle 300 feet of climbing, plus a hike uphill for how long? Like an hour?
At least an hour.
At least an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all gonna be badasses by the end of this.
Fucking shoes off the drug dealer. I don't know what he laced them with, but I've been tripping all day.
Wow.
Dad joke!
In November 2013, I was on a climbing trip, and the plan was to have it kind of be the last hurrah before the winter, and then in spring, summer 2014, I would go up to Yosemite and climb Half Dome. Unfortunately, that whole plan fell apart because I got injured. I was in the middle of a climb, actually, and I was climbing and everything was fine, and then a moment later, I felt my forearm blow out, and I was like, I have to go down now, and I can't do anything. I literally took a tied off piece of webbing, which they refer to as a sling, ironically, and I put it over my shoulder and used it as a sling to sling my arm, and had to rappel down one-handed, and that was kind of the end of the trip. Not knowing at the time how big of an ordeal this was going to be, I thought I just had overdone it, and I came home and spent a month resting and it didn't get any better, so I spent an extra month resting and it didn't get any better. So finally the third month I did what I should have done right away, which was go get it checked out. I had tendonitis. I now have to wear this brace. This isn't just sore, it's injured, and it's going to take a lot of time. I've had cortisone shots and I'm going to physical therapy. And I have found that that injury is due to a number of injuries. I have a bad shoulder, and I have all my side and back is very injured and messed up. And so I'm now in month 8 of what is going to be at least a year's long process of going to physical therapy and going to a functional movement specialist and having a trainer who specializes in injured athletes, because I just can't do what I used to be able to do. My honey, we're starting our lives together, and I just love you. And I love that I want to marry you so much.
So what I do is I put my hands on there and I open my thumbs. My thumbs should point in the direction of whatever, right hand, right thumb pointing to the right, handle to the right, left hand, thumb to the left, handle to the left. So everything should be facing away from each other. Exactly.
Fun stance. Shane and I used to work a high ropes course, and like I said, I rock climbed at this point 18 years ago, but I don't really rock climb anymore. So I was very rusty with the knots, with the tools, with the equipment.
So when Shane and I decided that we were going to do this wedding in Yosemite on a ledge, we originally thought it was going to be him, me, Molly, Louie, Jeff. Then when I told my dad about it, he said that he really wanted to come up with us. So, we incorporated him to our team.
Since I'm a pastor, and Joyce and Shane thought it would be meaningful for me to officiate this wedding. So, that was almost natural. Some pastors do a wedding for their kids, so that's kind of natural, but doing wedding in Yosemite, that was something else, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I wasn't into fitness at all. I walked sometimes, but I wasn't really ready to climb up anything. But when Joyce and Shane, they said they're gonna go marry on a ledge, and I have to hike up a lot and then kind of climb up the wall, the rock. I never done that, so I didn't register to my mind what that is.
One of my favorite memories with Joyce was when we were in the MBA program and we were both completely exhausted from the coursework and the group work and our full-time jobs.
Your position is the same position.
When we did have a free weekend, we would often just get together at my apartment and spend the entire weekend in our pajamas watching movies. And one of those weekends, we watched this movie. It was called Becoming Jane, and it's about Jane Austen and her life. And it's a very sad but beautiful movie. We both watched the movie for the first time together and started crying, hard crying, weeping through the whole thing. Went through a full box of tissues, and we took a break and made some lunch, and then when we finished, we said, what do you want to do next, or what should we watch next? And we both kind of paused and said, I want to watch that one again. And so we did, and then just cried again. It was a lot of fun. All right! I did it!
Let this lock. Okay, now you can start to pull it back.
Numerous times throughout all of Shane and my's friendship, there would just be these random evenings where I'd get a knock on my door, and it would be Shane. And who knows where that night would go, but I could always pretty much be like, all right, let's do it. No matter what's going on, we are gonna go drive around to the back roads of upstate New York, or we're gonna go to a show, or we're gonna go hang out and drink a bunch of coffee and just talk all night. But I would say some of the more memorable moments I had with Shane was we had done some youth group stuff. I was in high school, he would have been in college, and he was actually the chaperone. We went to Washington, D.C. together. And just running around Washington, D.C. with a close friend is probably one of the best
trips I've ever had.
In fall 2014, I think it was September, I was living in New York, and I had gotten up one day to go to the chiropractor because I wasn't feeling that well. I was like, oh, I'm finally gonna go in, get all fixed. So I went and got chiropractic work done, and on the way back, kind of it was a perfect storm of circumstances because I hadn't eaten much for breakfast that day. I'd gotten a bunch of chiropractic work done. It was really hot. I have low blood pressure to begin with, so I'm pretty prone to dizziness and lightheadedness. And then I had just walked up a pretty long flight of stairs out of the subway. And I got onto the sidewalk and I started feeling dizzy, so I walked over to this street sign on a pole and I kind of grabbed the pole and I just passed out. And when I came to, I was on the ground. And I guess I'd fainted. I didn't even feel it happening. And there were people around me asking me if I was okay, and I had fainted in front of this halal truck, which are abundant in New York. And the guys at the truck were like giving me bottled water, asking me if I needed anything. They gave me like a plate of food to eat, no charge. They were really, really sweet. I tried to stand up and my left ankle hurt quite a bit, so I thought I had sprained it. One of the guys from the haul truck kind of gave me his arm and walked me over to grab a cab so that I could go to the clinic, and kind of like a classic example of what my experience has been of New York. A lot of people talk about, oh, New Yorkers are so rude and cold and what have you, but I haven't found that to be the case. I find that situations like that where people will help you even if they don't know you. Well, I went to the clinic and it turned out that I had fractured my left ankle. So I had to get a cast and be in that for a couple months, and then I had to be in a boot for another couple months. And this is now less than a year out to the date that we had scheduled for our wedding. And we have to do all this intense hiking and climbing and all of that. So on top of me already having low blood pressure and, trying to train to get fit enough for the wedding, I had to first heal my ankle and make sure it was strong enough to be able to do this. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I would be able to. We were just kind of crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. And, the team was kind of training with all the best hopes.
You can tell she's done this before. All right, good girl. I just watched this video of this Mike and Cam wedding highlights. And it has all the stupid things that we don't like. But it's so great because I can't, I just want to marry the shit out of you. It's going to be so awesome.
All right, we are rolling.
Hold on. Oh my God, I have to answer this call. Oh. Hello.
A little bit of commentary, but don't move.
A little bit of commentary.
Commentary.
Well, there's a little thing in the groove carved out in this H that someone etched into the stone. And I don't know what it is. It could be bird poop.
For another foot or so. Okay, and just go ahead and stop.
I absolutely love climbing, and so I started climbing about 3 or 4 times a week, and I've been doing that for about 2.5 years. And around the same time, Joyce started seeing Shane, and Shane introduced her to climbing. And so it was interesting that we both, neither one of us really had any climbing experience, and then all of a sudden we're both climbing. Ta-da! And cut.
Here, throw his helmet on. You're clipped into here, right? Okay. So just do what Molly just did.
I've never been committed or excited about any sort of sport or physical activity, but climbing is such a holistic endeavor. You know, it's so mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual, you know, it's problem solving. You face your fear all the time and you learn to push through it, and it's taught me a lot about life. Ungraceful dismount.
We're to show so that we all know some of the same skills, because you never know, we might need to use them on the day, as they say in the industry. So you take your rope, and because you're probably going to have to hold on one hand. Alright, I make the Mickey Mouse here, I make the second Mickey Mouse here, I put the second one behind the first one, which takes both hands. There's my clove-hitch, I'm good. Because sometimes you're like, hang on to the cliff. How do I need both hands, what do I do? So, shake hands with the rope, twist it, shake hands with the rope, twist it, pull it tight, clove hitch, I'm on the anchor, done. Okay? So you can practice that in your own time, but that's how you do that.
Catch. Oops, bad throw. Here, good. Good girl.
I love it, you're like,
Catch.
one for Bella, 3 for Sasha, for me.
Sasha kept dropping hers, and she won't eat him out of the dirt, apparently.
What a stop.
I know.
Yeah.
Yosemite's so special because of the mountains here. It's like the mountains that make Yosemite these huge mountains of rock. You come here, you're just blown away by mountains, waterfalls, the wildlife. It's like just a really powerful place. The mountains here are powerful.
Shane has been scaring me to pieces from the time he was about 2.5. He would climb on his father's little rocking chair onto the dresser and then stand in the window and say, "Mama, look at me." Then he climbed up on the roof. We lived in a log house, and he would scamper up like a little squirrel, and he'd run around and say, "Mama, look, I can tap dance on the roof." Then he started climbing the maple trees in our yard, which were very old trees and very, very tall. And he was only about 3. And once again, I'd be saying, "Shane, where are you? Where are you?" And he'd say, "Mama, I'm up here. Look at me. I climbed." He'd say, "I see that with my heart in my throat." And I'd say, "Can you climb down?" And he'd say, "I can." And then I'd say, "Can you show me?" He'd say, "I can." So then I said, for the first time, that I've said many, many times, every time he goes on a climbing trip, just always have some place to put your hands and always have some place to put your feet. And he always has.
I always refer to Yosemite Park as my church, and I think that it's because, to me, I'm more of a spiritual person than a quote religious person. I have a lot of faith, but to me it makes more sense to be outside in nature than to be inside in a building or something that's man-made. And so when I thought about getting married, I thought I wanted to be in the outside place that is the most special for me, and that's El Cap.
I sit upon this mountain, breathing cleaner air than before. I close my eyes and drink it up. Beauty so divine, I just can't get enough. I tell myself that everything will be alright.
You know, me and my wife married in 1977, December 10th. And for our honeymoon, we came to Yosemite, and Yosemite Lodge is where we stayed. When, Shane and Joy said they are thinking about getting married in Yosemite, I thought it's strange and kind of unexpected. I guess the life came in full circle.
I had never known this about my parents. I never knew that they honeymooned in Yosemite, much less the lodge. How crazy is that? 38 years ago, my parents came here on their honeymoon, and then 38 years later, here we are getting married here and staying at the same place that they did. So it's just kind of amazing, the two generations of Yosemite love stories.
Hello, my honey. I'm at work, and I like you. And I haven't done one of these in far too long, although I've thought of it almost every day when I come to work.
So we're at Stony Point Park in Chatsworth, and this is the first day that the whole team is together doing jugging training and practice. The first time we did it was 2 months ago, and it was basically on a staircase, so this is for real this time. Molly and Louie are up on the wall, our best man and maid of honor, and they're killing it, so hopefully we'll be all trained up and ready in time for, gosh, we have 12 weeks. So 3 months left to get in shape.
Say hi.
Hey guys!
I don't know if that works. Bye.
Louie I met actually without Shane.
Shane had said that he had met someone and that we should meet. So without him being there, I was introduced to his girlfriend at the time.
So Louie had come to LA, he'd come to town, and he wanted to hang out with Shane, but he was working, so he's like, hey, do you want to go meet my brother Louie? Okay, I met Louie at a restaurant. Yeah, I liked him right off the bat. He was kind of quirky and funny guy and interesting.
As we're just sitting there and enjoying each other's company, it's like, this girl's perfect for Shane because she's just a fantastic person. Like, just the quality of human that Joyce is radiates from her constantly.
On rappel.
As I've come to know him, he's just a giant teddy bear, and I love him, and I'm so glad that he's been with us through this experience. He's incredibly strong, not only because he's a CrossFit guy, but he's just a very solid heart and solid character.
Anyone below me?
So I think the great thing about her is that she will always approach a situation with a smile.
Fantastic.
She's going to take a very positive approach to things, and that's the kind of person that my friend needs to be paired with for the end of days.
The best kept secret in jerky, until now. You're not indecisive, you just want things your way. That's why the buffet is your friend. Don't choose, just have it all.
'Cause I'm all about buffets, no menus. About buffets, no menus. 'Cause I'm all about buffets,
No menus.
Basunda.
There were a few train wrecks and chains long ago past, and each time I just knew they were not the girl for him. I never said a word, but I always prayed that he would find the right person. So I know in my soul that Joyce is the right person. She's not only smart, brave, kind. She loves film as much as he does, but she goes rock climbing with him.
All right, you just did your first ropes course. What do you think?
Super fun.
Did I do so good?
Yes, you did so good.
Who would ever imagine?
Pretty awesome view. Okay. Rappelling!
She and Shane took the train up from New York City and arrived in Fort Edward. And she got off the train first, and I was watching eagerly. And the minute she saw me and I saw her, she got this big smile on her face, and she came toward me with her arms out, and I hugged her, and she just walked right into my heart. And I said right then and there to myself, I said, "Thank you, Lord, this is the one."
My shadow looks hilarious with this thing on it. And it keeps bumping into the goddamn rope. What a dickhead.
And the rope should be in the middle?
Yes.
As much as I can?
So like this is twisted, so you just want to untwist that, bring the whole thing through. It's always better to take a minute or two at the beginning and get everything all sussed.
Sure.
Because then it's easier.
They just are the same kind of weird. He really appreciated all of her quirks, and it seemed like she was able to blossom around him rather than try to conform in any kind of way, which made me really like him, because anyone that makes my friend blossom and develop into who she is okay by me. And just seeing them together, they're so nice to each other, and I think kindness goes a long way for a relationship. So many relationships I see, they're just mean to each other, and you know that's not going to last. But I think they have a real shot.
My name is Peter Rouse. My background involves primarily exercise science. I have a PhD in exercise physiology as well as 3 master's degrees, one in exercise science, one in biochemistry and one in genetics. Kind of a vast background there with what I do here, and from that we kind of integrate a lot of different other modalities in there with manual therapy, neurosomatic therapy, neuromuscular therapy, and some of the classic physical therapy type modalities. Most of what we're doing with Shane though is with the neural reflex work. We're looking at resetting a lot of the neural guarding that he has going on there from previous injuries. So a lot of the primitive reflexes have kicked in to try to guard against the initial injuries that he's had. The injuries have healed, a lot of the musculoskeletal side of the injuries have healed, but the actual neural guarding and neural reflexes have remained. So what we're trying to do is reset a lot of that and get them calmed down. And as you can see from a lot of the treatment, he has a pretty big response from some of the treatment we're doing. First met Shane when he was referred to us from another gym. They heard about us through the grapevine. He came in for the first time, came in initially for his shoulder. We did an assessment. From the assessment, both him and I realized that there's a lot more going on than just his shoulder, and then we started the treatment protocol from there, starting with working on the neural reflex. We actually didn't touch the shoulder initially. We were primarily focusing on a lot of the abdominal lumbar hip complex area, calming that down first, and then from there we've been kind of expanding on the whole process. Ankle, well, very limited, huh? E-vision's limited to probably about 2 or 3 degrees there. And this side's mobility is a little bit better, but this side's really limited.
That's the one that had that injury, remember?
Yeah. We've been working with Shane now for about 4 months, off and on. So we're probably about 3/4 of the way through his treatment, I believe, even though you see quite a huge response. What we're going to see is a very rapid response now. As we're peeling through the layers, we're finding more and more, and that allows us to kind of progress a lot faster. Within the next couple of months, we'll probably see him start training again and start correcting a lot of the motor patterns that were being shut down from the previous injuries.
So since your right foot works, are you able to drive him home?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I don't think he's going to be in any condition to drive home.
Oh, yeah, drive home.
No, because I saw her foot.
Actually, sometimes we give him half an hour and he kind of sees I can walk it out a bit.
Had our trip to Idlewild so we could see how we're going to do at elevation, and we all did it. And that means they're getting closer to getting married. Oh my goodness. I just love you and I want to marry the shit out of you. So there. Come on. Bye.
About a month or two before the whole team started training together, Shane and I went up to Yosemite to scout the route that we planned to do. And it was our engagement trip. I mean, we hadn't officially gotten engaged, but spoiler alert, I knew it was going to happen and I was going to say yes. So it was more to make it official and also to make sure that we knew what to prepare for. Shane had proposed the route Octopussy, which is pretty far on the west face of El Capitan, and he had done that climb before and camped out on the 3rd pitch ledge and loved it, so he thought that would be great. The other thing that worked out was that not a lot of people do that route. We didn't want to be in the middle of our wedding ceremony and have other climbing parties trying to pass through. So we thought that that would be really good and also doable for a group of our collective experience and ability. So we went up there and very quickly got smacked in the face by how difficult it would be. I was carrying a 50 or 60 pound pack, which is the most weight I'd ever carried in my life. And we're both recovering from our injuries. We start hiking up and it's just this relentless uphill for an hour and a half, very rocky. So you have to be really careful. And we get to the top, I don't even know how we made it. And Shane starts leading up the route. And he immediately starts to feel that he's not as strong as he's used to. Then of course it starts raining. So everything's getting wet, the rock's getting slick, which makes it even more difficult to get up, and we're getting cold. Shane somehow finally gets to the top of the pitch and we camped out, we're soaking wet. And the next day we try to resume and we can't make it. There's no way around it. And he's absolutely crushed. I'm drained. And we just decide we have to call it and we have to bail. So we are packing up and trying to wrap down as quickly as possible because the sun's going down. And we don't want to be hiking down on rocky terrain in the dark. So we're going as fast as we can. And I start to get really shaky and I can't seem to walk straight. And it's just really perilous. We somehow made it out to the ground. We saw the road and we're walking towards it, and kind of all the exhaustion and strain and frustration of the past few days catches up with me, and I just start sobbing. And I think he just felt so terrible. I think he felt like he failed and that he let me down. And we're in the car driving into town to find this hotel, and it's just silent for a while. And finally he speaks up, and he starts going on about how, you know, if he doesn't say this now, he might not gather up the courage. And he's kind of going on and on about how he's sorry about the trip, but how he really loves me. And then he says, you know, I just really want to be with you. And he kind of pauses. So I said, okay, to acknowledge that I was listening to him. And then another pause, and he's like, was that a yes? And I was like, you didn't ask me a question. And we both just start deliriously laughing because we're just so exhausted. And so he goes, will you marry me? And I said, yes. And we just laughed and cried and stayed in a hotel. So it was a complete disaster, but at the same time, kind of perfect for us.
Okay, Jeff, change of plans. We are not going to get married on Peter Pan Ledge. And I'll show you why in a moment. I'm at the top of the first pitch where the ledge is, the little ledge. Peter Pan Ledge is the third pitch ledge. That's the big one. Now, I think you, Louie, and I should come in and set all the ropes and go up on Peter Pan Ledge and spend the night and then wrap down, and then the party comes in the next day. But then we should have the ceremony here on this ledge, not up there, because it's very arduous. You know, you, Louie, and I could come in, go up the 4th class scramble, up the fixed lines, and then unclip, walk over to here, scramble up, then here on this ledge, start the climb. When they come up the next day, then they can stop where the 10 is and rest, and then they can jug up to this ledge and rest, and then they jug up here, where I am, and we do the ceremony. We could get married on this ledge right here, but these two dead trees are right there, and you can't see El Cap. Whereas here, obviously, it's like, boom. It's amazing. So that's what I think we're going to do. Joyce's concern is, especially her father, climbing up the 4th class with the fixed lines isn't a big deal. She's like, traversing all that exposed stuff, she's like, that A, would be scary, and B, she's like, I don't know if he could do it. Joyce's dad would stand right there. So you can shoot down at him. You get all this sweeping vista. And then you could literally just walk right along this. You could get right into this alcove here like this. You could get us all like this, blah, blah, blah. Or we could put a camera right here. There's another ledge right here. You could put some gear in and stand and shoot down, you know. So that's what I think we're gonna do.
I only recently met Shane, I think last year. Joyce started bringing him around to, you know, our family holiday gathering. And, you know, he seemed like a very nice guy. He was, you know, very traditional gentleman, you know, pulled the seat out for her.
I'm really happy about him and Joyce, because Joyce wasn't thinking about the marriage. So she finally find the right man. Well, we love them. So I like him too.
You know, it's been like, I think over 20 some, almost, maybe almost 30 years since we've been to Yosemite with our families.
We made a trip to Yosemite when Joyce was like 5 and David was 6, before I went to seminary.
I didn't even know that they were into climbing and stuff like that, so get me by surprise, but I guess it was kind of exciting to know that we get to go back to you know, one of the childhood spots that we visited.
It shows that we are in relationship. We pass down some memories to next generation, and we share. And Shane and Joyce show me new challenge climbing up. So I guess the generations are connect together in love. And Yosemite has that meaning, that symbol. Yeah.
About 6 months in, they had been seeing each other a couple times a week, I think, if not just once a week. And one day we were hanging out and she said something like, he called me dear the other day, or some pet name. And she said she was really taken aback by it, like, I'm not your honey, I'm not your dear. And then she realized they'd been dating for 5 or 6 months, and she's like, well, maybe I am at this point. At the time, I was so sure that I had no interest in being in a relationship, so I wasn't really thinking about him in those terms. I think he was the same way. It actually took us a really long time to get to the point where we realized that we were dating. I think it was several months before we asked each other, like, are we dating? Another part of the reason that we took things so slowly was because I knew already before I'd met Shane, you know, I'd been wanting to move to New York for a while. I really wanted to make it happen. And I had given myself a 6-month trial just to see how it was, see if I wanted to stay there. And you know, Shane and I had talked about what would happen with us, and it was a real possibility that I would move there and I would love it and I would stay there. And Shane is not a fan of New York. He needs to be around nature, not tall buildings that block out the lights. So we thought, you know, we might go our separate ways. And about 3 months into my time there, I just knew, like, this is stupid. I don't want to not be with him. We had a lot of long conversations, and, you know, I told him, after the end of this next 3 months, I'm gonna come home with you. So we decided we were gonna make it happen, make it work. Sure enough, at the end of the 6 months, after we filmed a documentary that we worked on, our first project together, I flew home with him, and here we are.
My honey, I haven't done these in a while and I apologize. I should be doing them every day. But I'm in the nature and we just did a hike with your parents because we're going up to Yosemite.
Even though there weren't the logistics of planning a traditional wedding, like, you know, linens and table settings and flowers and things like that, you know, there were a lot of other logistics involved with climbing and planning out our route and the gear and how much food and water we needed and the team and putting that all together. But that was fun for us. You know, for us, we're planning a trip, we're planning an adventure. Those were the sort of logistics that we were comfortable with.
Oh, go for it. Molly, do you want to fill your jug?
No, I've got a water bottle. We're doing it! Your rehearsal trip. All in all, I think we did pretty well. A little bit of altitude stuff going on, but feel pretty good. I think we'll all manage well when it comes time to do it on the day. Hopefully it'll be a little cooler. And yeah, just more mentally prepared since we've gone through it. So yeah, I'm excited. It's feeling real now. Like it's happening.
This is the rehearsal dinner. We have hiked in about 1,000 feet and jagged up in a very scary spot, carrying 40-pound or more packs. And I'm very tired, and I haven't showered. And that is all.
It was actually really fun planning the outfits as well, particularly for my maid of honor and myself, because we wanted them to still read wedding, but be functional enough for climbing. I worked with my friend Jacoby, who's a brilliant designer, and she and I kind of came up with the idea of doing skirts that would kind of clip on the way that a chalk bag might clip on, and would be open in the front so that our legs would be free to climb.
When we first started talking about the concept and, you know, what was going to be happening during this wedding, I just started kind of sketching, like based on the pieces that we knew we were going to use and the ideas that we already had locked in. I made this dramatic sketch of Joyce like standing at the edge of this cliff, and like the whole world is kind of in the background, and I'm like, it's way over dramatic, but whatever, like it gets the gist and it's kind of funny. And then I saw the pictures from the actual event, and it's like 10 times scarier than the way I depicted it. The weird part is that I accepted the challenge without any kind of like hesitation, because I just kind of knew it was gonna work. Which of course, like as soon as I actually started doing it, that all went away and I started like freaking out, like, oh my God, how's this gonna work? We knew from the beginning that it would be leggings and some sort of a train that only existed like in the back. Everything would have to be pushed back away from the face, back away from the hips. And so that actually gave me a lot to start with. One of the definite boxes I wanted to make sure to check was including the knotwork that sort of symbolized both like Joyce and Shane's union and also this common interest that kind of led to this wedding being so unique. One of the things that Joyce showed me was this kind of figure 8 knot. We knew that we were going to put it somewhere on the dress. We decided to put it on the back of the jacket, and so you have that little detail there. But I wanted it to be represented in other places as well. And I think Joyce actually suggested somehow like incorporating rope into the men's boutonnieres.
Jacoby, she lives in Ohio and I was in LA, so you know, we had to mail things back and forth, we had to have consultations over Skype, that sort of thing. So, but we somehow pulled it off.
It was, you know, something that I think really even changed the way I feel about myself as a designer. Like I gained a lot of confidence from it.
It happens. My dad, being 62 years old and having never climbed in his life and not really being a regular exerciser or anything, when we kind of explored the possibility of him coming up with us, Shane and I were pretty skeptical for a while. And when we were supposed to be training, he was traveling a lot and didn't really have a lot of time. About even up till a month before the trip, I kept trying to hint at him, well, you know, you might not go up with us. Maybe you'll just stay on the ground. But he kicked it up. He started hiking on his own, and you know, we took him out to teach him jugging, and he picked it up really quickly, and I'm really proud of him. I didn't think he was gonna do it, but he did, and you know, I think he did really well.
I was concerned about altitude and being diabetic, and unfortunately all those fears came true.
As we were driving up here, my mom's blood sugar kept getting higher and higher, and we thought at some point it would stabilize, but the more altitude she had, the higher her blood sugar got, and we basically checked in and she's like, I have to go to the hospital.
So Joyce and I were sitting on a little bench outside the ladies' room, and I just said, I feel like I'm gonna die. Shane came up and he's like, well, you know, we can just hang around for a while, or we can go for a walk, or we... I said, Shane, I'm really bad. I'm really bad. They've got to find a place for me. And he's like, shit. He said, well, we'll take you to the clinic.
We brought her over there and they were like, well, we gave her a bunch of IV, we stabilized her, everything's fine, but she needs observation overnight. We're like, oh, okay, cool. And they're like, so she's gonna have to go back to Fresno and go into the ER and have the docs look at her. Just as soon as we got here and we're trying to get everything set up for the next day, we got hit with that.
It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So now I'm over 500. That's getting dangerous. If you get up to 600, you're gonna go in a coma.
We drove 2 hours back to Fresno and put her in the hospital. And we didn't know what was gonna happen, if she was going to be released and then told you can't go to elevation again, or she'd have to stay in the hospital, or if she would get out and everything would be fine.
We're just getting back into the valley after leaving the hospital and driving up from Fresno. Last night we stayed overnight in Fresno. At one point her blood sugar was at like 547, which is super high. This morning she's doing much, much better. Her levels are back to normal. She's just waiting for the doctor to come by and give her the okay to check out. My parents, who are on their way up to meet us in the valley today, will be picking her up on their way here. Hopefully she won't have the same issues as she tries to come back up here, and she'll be able to join us and be here for the ceremony, which I know is really important to her and really important to us. So,
Honey, tell us what you're doing.
Well, we just heard from Joyce's parents. They picked my mom up at the hospital and they're on the way back. So we're going ahead with the plan, which is for me to get all the gear organized and meet up with the boys. Today we're gonna prep. I gotta lead up and then clean all the gear and then fix 2 lines so that when we come in tomorrow, everything's already set up. So the boys and I have to hike in, do all that, come down, hike all the way out, and then tomorrow we'll hike right back in again.
I did have a headache. The higher we went up the mountain, the worse my headache got. But my blood sugar stayed fine. And so I said, okay, I can deal with the headache. So things started to get better from there. And then once I got in the room, Joyce and Molly were there. And oh my God, it was like coming out of the dark and into the sunshine. We just clicked. She made me laugh. We were telling stories about all kinds of things. And it saved my whole weekend. I just love that girl.
I'm usually not a fan of when people say destination wedding or adventure wedding, because I think a lot of times it's cheesy. This was both a great destination wedding and a great adventure wedding. I don't think you can really get the scope of how amazing this spot is, the grandness of it all. Hey there! What's up? What are we talking about here?
Tell the fine people what's going on here today.
Well, we are currently on the Peter Pan ledge on El Capitan, setting up with all of the fixed lines for tomorrow's big day. And that's leading us to a multi-pitch aid climb that's lasted several hours. Yeah, personally, this is a first time doing multi-pitch, big wall, and on a ledge for myself. So that's 3 little boxes I can tick off. And everyone else is old hat, I guess, but no, I'm pretty happy with it.
All right, I'm just gonna get over here. This will be plenty for the 2 of us on the way down.
So to say that you're training for a wedding, A, makes people kind of wonder what this wedding's going to entail. And then as I start explaining, so yeah, we're training for a wedding. We're gonna be going up 300 feet, up a cliff. No, we're not hiking up a cliff, we're climbing a cliff. We're going to be tied onto the wall. The more you add to that, you can just see their eyes become more and more open as the calculations start to compound and they realize, oh, you might die on a wedding day. It was a concern.
Young mentioned about the 4 rings. The first ring is a engagement ring, and second ring is a wedding ring. Third ring is a suffering, and fourth ring is enduring. So life comes sometimes suffering. When you have an enduring, it comes over the suffering. It goes and goes, but you keep it love and enduring, and that's the answer, I think. So.
The old English saying the long suffering, that means patience, enduring. I see they are a good match, you know, Shane and Joyce. But in life, in married life, sometimes you go through suffering, whether you want it or not. Yet, if you do have love and patience, and then endure through that, with that love, yeah, then that makes marriage stronger.
I've been climbing here in Yosemite for 21 years. I've been working here for 13 and living here for 13 years. Shane and Joyce's was the first marriage I had ever heard of being performed up on a ledge on El Capitan. I thought it was super cool. You know, it was just a total honor for me to have it be my friends and to get to, you know, be some part of getting to connect with them and to see them off and to be down here in the meadow. We were all cheering them on. It was just a completely awesome experience. It's super cool.
But she grew up mostly in LA. Shane grew up in Vermont, in Glens Falls. And somehow, across time and space and a whole great big country, they found each other. If that isn't fate, or kismet, or the hand of God, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know what is.
I could see a spectacular, you know, view of the mountains, rocks, and the trees and meadows, everything. And just by the fact that you see this enormous nature in front of you, that kind of you know, triggers awe in you for the Creator. For Shane, when he climbs up, he see, I guess, himself very tiny, yet connected to nature that God made. I think that's what he meant. That, you know, Yosemite is his church.
The people involved didn't want something to just go through the motions that led to I do. They wanted to incorporate their lifestyle into the wedding, which I think gets lost with so many people. And not to insult other people's view of what love is or what their wedding day should be, but I think this perfectly explained what their wedding was going to be and what their definition of love was going to be for each other.
once has brought us to here, to this. To hear this. Now hear this.
For the most part, climbing requires a climber and a belayer. So someone that you can trust your life to as you take risks. It's nice to have someone to fall back on and someone who's there to catch you when you fall. To push you further, I think a belay partner is very similar to a husband, or at least a good husband or wife, will push you when you are hesitating because of fear, and will let you down and encourage you when you have assessed a risk to be not worth taking, and encourage you to try again next time when you have better skills or better equipment or better knowledge or whatever it is.
Well, finally we're here. That was exciting, tiring, and scary. I never dreamed I would do this, except that my lovely Joyce asked me to be here. In marriage, you need partnership, just like in climbing, to help each other, to make it safe. In life, there's ups and downs, and then when you on the top, you rejoice, you're happy, but there are some valleys in the life. When you go down low, especially in that moment, you need more partnership than before ever. Joyce and Shane, be partners for life, always helping each other, always do your best to be the best friends, best partners, best husband and wife. I bless you. To make this very official, I like to hear you say your own vows that you have written.
My honey, I've been told that good things come in threes, so there are three things I want to tell you. The first is, and I can't believe I haven't told you before, but I have the lead role in a movie. It's called My Life. And after 20 years of traveling around the world, the open casting call, looking for someone to be my co-star, I finally found her. And whether it's projects that we work on together, or the project that it's our life together, there's no one else that I would rather share it with, or have be my co-star. And secondly, something my grandmother told me, which is that a successful marriage requires true partnership, and that means it's 50-50. But that doesn't mean that you do half and I do half. It means that when you need me to do everything, I will. And when I need you to do everything, I will let you. And so my vow to you today is that I will do everything when you need me to, but I will also allow you to do everything that I can. And finally, I never thought I would get married. Because I never thought that I could do it a way that made sense to me. Or find someone that would allow me to do it in a way that made sense to me. And the fact that we found each other online in LA after both traveling around the world for 20 years finally gave me the proof of not only that God exists, but that we have a plan. And my final vow to you today is that every time I look at you, I'll remember that there's a God. And every time I see your face, I will know I have a relationship with Him. And every time I look in your eyes, I will know that we have a plan.
Oh, weird, wild, wonderful you. Your conviction, your passion, your all-in shabam pow. Your silliness, your boldness, your talent, and most of all, your kindness. I promise to always see and cherish your magic. Your explosions of laughter, my silent expressions. Your pacing, arm-waving, out-loud train of thought, my internal processing that finally pulls into the station and lets you board weeks later. How I laugh when you cry.
or the perfect storm. You, the hurricane, and I, the eye. I promise to always celebrate the ways in which we differ. You're the funhouse mirror reflecting back to me a version of myself that is smarter, braver, more talented, more capable. You don't just believe, you somehow know I'll do great things even when I don't. I promise to always strive to be even close to the person you see in me. You took me from a this'll do love that I thought I deserved to a can this be love that I didn't even know was possible. You turn a loner into a partner, a toe dipper into a diver. You make me brave. You give me freedom to fall on the wall and in life. I promise to always be there to catch you too. I want to keep tumbling down the rabbit hole with you. Forever you'll be mine, and I'll be your you.
As a minister of the Church of Christ, and by the authority which the state has vested in me, I now pronounce you, Shane Bursa and Joyce Yu, husband and wife, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. What therefore God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Amen.
Climbers tie a double figure 8 knot, and that's a pretty standard knot. That's every climber learns it. It's one of the first knots that they learn, and it's called a figure 8 because that's what it looks like. So you tie it once and then you follow through with the other end of the rope, and it basically forms an intertwined infinity symbol. And it's one of the strongest knots, and that's what you rely on to be literally tied to each other. And you know, we thought it was really appropriate that we were tying the knot in Yosemite, not only in terms of how people say that they get married, but very literally we had to tie the knot to climb up to get married to each other.
My father passed away in 2004, and I didn't think about this until very recently, but he worked at a ski area and spent 25 plus years being a self-proclaimed ski bum. And he loved mountains, and he loved snow, and he loved to ski. He taught me to ski very early on. We had a whole lifetime of going to the mountains and going skiing together on weekends and holidays and on vacations. And I always thought of myself as, oh, I used to ski, but now I rock climb. But I just realized that I'm a mountain person, and I used to ski down mountains, and now I climb up them. But that's all because of my father. Mom came out for the wedding, and I hadn't thought of this at all, but she brought some of my father's ashes. And she said, your dad loves mountains. You're getting married in a mountain. I think you should scatter your dad's ashes. And I don't know if he ever came to Yosemite or not. I know that he loved that I climbed. And I don't know if that's because he's a mountain person or just because he liked me. After the ceremony, everyone rappelled down off the ledge, and while I was there by myself, I was able to say hello and goodbye to my dad off of my wedding ledge, and I felt like he was there.
Our friend Jeff, who has known Shane for like 20 years, who I obviously met through Shane. Been so glad to have him on board with us doing photos and video and all of that. It's been incredible. I mean, he's brilliant, he's creative, he takes incredible shots. He had a tendon injury and think of kind of a iffy shoulder. You know, he toughed it out and came through. And imagine not only doing the hike and doing the climb, but then doing all of that with expensive, heavy camera equipment. That's not an easy thing. So, yeah, we had a lot to contend with. A lot of unexpected things sprung up, you know, with Shane's mom getting sick and us rushing back and forth between Fresno and all of that. And somehow, despite, you know, between physical injuries and fear of heights and being, you know, limited climbing experience, and this being not only a wedding, but a climbing trip and also a film, we somehow pulled it off. And I'm so proud, and I can't imagine having any other team. It's been just the best team. It felt right the whole time, and I couldn't be happier.
I wish that they'll always be as happy as they are today. I wish them love and joy and adventure and lots of success in films. And I think their life together is going to be one long adventure.
You know, I hope them the best. I think they definitely found the best halves for each other, and nothing but much love to both of them.
I believe marriage is a really special thing. I'm so psyched for Shane and Joyce, and I think it's going to be an amazing experience being together, and I just hope that they keep it wild and keep doing it up on the ledge for sure.
They walk together, climb up together, and always help each other, and see them kind of get all together.
I mean, yeah, it just really means a lot to me to be able to, even though I couldn't physically be there because I'm about 1,000 and some miles away, it just really felt like I got to be a part of something amazing, and I didn't have to strap myself to the side of a cliff in order to do it.
Never let go of a sense of adventure, but they are always nice to each other in the way that they're nice to each other now, that they're always kind and encouraging to each other in the way they are now, and that they just have a lot of fun together.
Are you sure that that's what makes a good wedding? Can't we just stick in the LA area and hang out? No, let's go do something. Let's create and be better than ourselves as a whole. And I think all of us have engaged in that. We've all become better versions of ourselves.